Hello everybody, welcome back. So today's gonna be kind of a different video from my standard gameplay videos. Today I just really wanted to talk about this subject. So from the title, it is about the First Descendant and about how the game is slowly bleeding out. And I really wanted to talk about this because, it's a game I've been playing. I literally played since, I even played the beta version of the game before it got released, and then when it actually got released, I played literally day one, and I started grinding, and I honestly just want to talk about it, because I've been seeing it through the Steam charts where it's been slowly declining, and every single time a new season comes up, well, realistically, only 2 seasons have actually been released, but basically they just get like a decent revive, and then it just slowly goes down and declines, and I kind of just want to talk about why this is the case. And it's probably a no-brainer to most of us, but I just want to get this off my chest. So stay tuned to hear my thoughts of this at least, and what I think they could technically do to improve, because I think they are kind of heading the right direction, but at the same time there are things that they are doing that is a little suspect and, to be quite honest, a little scummy. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But anyways, to kind of preface this off, I kind of want to start this video, I guess maybe explaining what the game is, but it's going to be really brief. But essentially, the First Descendant is just a looter shooter game, and you're going to be seeing the gameplay. Right now I'm just making a voiceover, so I'm not actually talking while I'm playing, because I'll be honest, I can't put my thoughts while playing a game. I'm just going to be more focused on the game. So anyways, as I said before, the First Descendant is a looter shooter game, which just means you're able to go around the map or go around the area and basically get materials, get stuff where you can make your character stronger over time and make them better. And the end game is essentially just to build a max level character. And you can see these type of games with Warframe, Destiny, or even Borderlands, and it's not unique in the genre, but it's definitely a title out there. So I guess let's just jump into the first points. These points are actually going to be about the good aspects of the game. Some of them are going to be pretty short. This part's going to not be explained too much, but it is going to be kind of just talked about why I think this game has a good base, at least, of the general just structure, which I think is essential for for a game to be successful. But basically, I think that as a free-to-play game, this is a pretty honestly a pretty good free-to-play game. It's pretty friendly in that aspect, because there's not really many pay-to-win items, and not only that, it's a PvE, so there's not really a PvP place where you'll get absolutely demolished by other players that have better stuff than you, clearly better stuff than you, and all you do is really just fight mobs. So it's pretty standard, a pretty chill standard gameplay. And because it's not a PvP and it's just strictly PvE, I think that it kind of just it's nice, because it doesn't really you don't have to really try too hard, and it's not, I guess, in a sense, stressful sometimes, because I'll be honest, I can get pretty heated in a battle royale game, or a just shooter game where you're fighting other players, actual human beings, and it's it does get frustrating. But in these type of games, no, if you get frustrated at that point, it's kind of on you for not being well geared, well equipped. Usually you don't really die due to skill. It's mainly just you're not equipped enough, and you'll eventually get to the point where you will be strong enough to do it. You just have to put in the time, which this is kind of why I'm saying this is a pretty solid game for free-to-play people, because you don't really need to spend money to do stuff. Even the perks or the buffs or the bonuses, like the 30% XP, extra XP, and other stuff. You don't really need that, realistically. You can pretty much level up your characters pretty easily with the new invasion dungeons, or I don't even know if they call them dungeons, but they like zones, like they're basically dungeons. You can level your characters up pretty quickly because of the way it's just where you can farm along with, especially if you have some friend who has a Freyna, or you have a bunny. You can level up super quickly, no money needed, and that's kind of like one thing I really like about this game. This game really doesn't, like, you don't feel the need to spend, and you can just, if you want to buy skins, you can just buy skins, and yeah, that's kind of about it for this part. I think, let's see, I'm gonna get some water, I'm freaking thirsty. Okay, so now, so we're gonna kind of like move off this point, because, I mean, I kind of, settled the ground. This is a pretty free to play friendly game. There's not really much you need to spend on. And I think the second point I want to make is that, well, I think that this community is a pretty chill community. I think in a game like this, you really just need like a community, like a really good, supportive community. I wouldn't say, like, obviously they're not gonna like hold your hand or anything, or wish you good night or something, but if you need help, there's gonna be someone out there who's willing to probably help you, as long as you you're chill, you're cool, and you're not like being a jerk while you're asking it for it, or you're not like spamming it or something. But there will be someone who's probably gonna help you. I think that's pretty cool, especially in a game like this where you don't really need to help anybody half the time. You can just matchmake, but for example, it does get sometimes frustrating. And like, I remember in the beginning of the game, when we barely started, when we were in hard mode, I think it was like the Pyromaniac hard mode. That guy was really difficult, but then some really well-built person helped, like, basically took over that thing, destroyed it, completely obliterated it, and then I'm like, oh wow. And yeah, that was really cool. And I started doing that for people too, but now I've been pretty lazy about that, so it is what it is. But yeah, I think that this community is pretty chill, pretty cool, and obviously, there are going to be those bad apples, but overall, what I've seen at least, it's pretty cool. No one's inherently bad in this community, at least by what I've seen. But obviously, there's going to be a few bad apples, but I don't think they are enough to tarnish, the community. So, on to my third point now. Now, I've said it, I mean, this point was probably going to appear up, but I said, pretty chill game. We have a chill community, and overall, I think this is just a chill game. It's a relaxing one. There's not really anything, to stress about. I feel like it's one of those games where you can just pick up where you left off and then just play. Because, I mean, like, there's not really like an incentive to be on daily. You can literally probably go offline for like a week, and you can just jump back in next week and then just play. And I feel like it's just one of those games where you can just like, you can ping out your friends on Discord, or you can just like, let's just play some of the First Descendant, because I really don't want to play any like competitive game. I don't want to use my brain, which is something that sometimes we all need, which I think is really cool. And to be quite honest, at least you don't have to be super hyper focused on the game where you're like, you feel like, okay, if I turn off my brain for like 1 second, I'm probably gonna get murked. No, you can literally turn off your brain and just run through the whole map, and you'll be fine. So I think this is definitely one of those more laid back games, and it feels like one of those games where you can definitely, it could be like your first game and you get introduced to, gaming, and there's not really a high skill ceiling bar or anything. There's just like, it's like low bar. You don't really need to know anything about games, and you can just learn all the mechanics about the First Descendant in pretty much in the first like 2 hours. And yeah, it's a really chill game. I'm pretty good for novice players, I think, or novice, there's no overall novice gamers, but other than that, yeah, third point stands, I think, in my opinion. Okay, and then the fourth point, I think the game overall just runs really smoothly. I think it's a really, like, just overall solid game. I think the gunplay is pretty solid. Honestly, some of the better gunplays, I think. There are definitely games with better gunplay, but in terms of, at least for free-to-play games, this is definitely a really good one. A solid one out of all of them. I wouldn't say it's obviously the best, but I think it's definitely like maybe like a 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10, maybe 8.2 or something, but I wouldn't say a 9 because there obviously are better games, and I've seen those better games, but you know, it's definitely on the higher end, not on the bottom scale. And I think there are bugs that do occasionally happen, but they don't really happen that often. It's not noticeable where I'm like stressing. So I think, you know, overall it's a solid, it works really well. This is why, like, I guess a lot of people did play at the beginning, because I believe it hit a peak of 250,000 almost. Not 100% sure, but yeah. Anyways, we'll kind of see, or these are like my good points. So now I guess we'll kind of dive into, like, I guess the points where I think is bringing down the First Descendant in terms of as like a game as a whole, which, you know, this is what you're mainly here for. Anyways, on to the points that actually matter. Alright, I did a little pause there because I was kind of gathering my thoughts-ish, but anyways, so one of the points that I think that this game, you know, is, well, declining is that the game is super repetitive. Now, this is actually a bit confusing for some people. Like, obviously this game is going to be repetitive. I mean, it's a looter shooter. What do you, like, why is this even a point? I don't mean repetitive as in the gameplay is repetitive, but I feel like the game as a whole is repetitive. And what I mean is that, like, the maps look essentially the same. Like, for example, if you were to go into Vesper, right, and you did the dungeons in there, and then you were to go to, like, let's say Sterile Land, or not Sterile Land, where else? Let me think. Is Sterile Land? Essentially, like, there are sometimes two maps that look essentially like almost the same, like Agna Desert and Hagos, I think. Oh god, I'm sorry, I completely don't remember. But okay, let's say you're in, you know, Agna Desert, right, and you're doing the, like, dungeons in the two dungeons that are there. Those dungeons are almost this, like, they look pretty similar to each other, and, you know, it just looks like a reskin, essentially. So, like, there's not really great variety. Now, I know they have been adding new stuff in the new seasons, which this is definitely a good step in the right direction. You know, that's, like, one of the points that I definitely want to bring up. But before that was even added, the game was definitely repetitive for some players, and I think a big thing had to do with that was definitely how stuff felt like reskinned, and stuff felt kind of unnecessary to stack on two to like a certain dungeon, like two different dungeons, and when you can just do the same one over and over and over again instead of you know, trying diverse things. Like, I remember before they added the inversion, correct? Bunny Cave was literally one of the best places for XP. So, like, literally everybody was doing Bunny Cave, and virtually no one was doing anything else for, you know, Descendant XP. Now they changed it, so now people are doing the inversion things to get XP, but, you know, before that, we had a really weird time. Anyways, so that's kind of one of the things I want to say. I feel like they definitely are going to the right direction in terms of that, but I definitely feel like some of the bosses are definitely reskins. I mean, even you can look at some of the new bosses and you literally look at the old bosses and you're like, this is literally the boss, but it's freaking, they put ice on it. They put the color white on it. Or this is the boss and they put, I don't know, green or whatever, you know? And it just feels lazy. Like, seriously, it felt lazy. When you looked at it, you're like, I'm seeing the same thing over and over again, and all I have to do is literally get a new attribute and I can counter it. That's it. And I mean, there are unique, sometimes some of them do have unique gameplay, but it's, you know, when you see the same boss, you're just like, it doesn't seem different. And I mean, sure, it's easier since it looks the same, you kind of know where the weak spots are and stuff, but it would be nice if they had more variety in terms of bosses. I mean, I literally haven't gone past, I think, Swamp Walker Hard, because there was no reason for me to, and I mean, I'm like, I don't really have a point, there's no point in me going to like a difficult boss when I can literally get all the stuff that I need currently at my level. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of like one thing. I mean, I'll eventually do it, but I'm kind of lazy, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's kind of my thing. I just feel like the game is repetitive in terms of definitely the like models, the dungeon layouts, even the gameplay, because like even when the inversion got activated, I'm pretty sure there's not too many different like modes that you can really do. Like there was the you stand on the pattern and unlock the door, you collect the brain matter and you bring it to the thing to unlock it, and I think the other one was kill or something. Was it kill? I'm not too sure, but yeah, there was not very much variety in terms of, oh wait, you find the patterns and then you stand under the thing and you get the laser gun to destroy the tumors, the malignant tumors. Yeah, it just felt so repetitive when they just had that over and over and over again. It just felt so boring when I was trying to do the battle pass. That's kind of what I mean by like repetitive. It just feels like there's not much varieties in terms of gameplay sometimes, and I feel like they could have totally added like at least 3 or 4 different things into that cycle, like a kill mission, maybe like you have to kill a certain amount, which I mean sure is in the dungeon, but I feel like it's just the most basic and the most fun and enjoyable one, because I don't really want to use my brain to look for certain things in a puzzle to solve when I'm in a looter shooter. But yeah, I mean, the kill one was one of them. You can maybe do one where you get the bomb, yet again, find the Vulgus with the bomb and then use it to unlock the door or something, or I don't know, something else, you know. But anyways, that's my first kind of point where I think it's kind of dragging the First Descendant down. Now, I think they are heading to the right direction, but it will take time. And honestly, who knows if they even have this time. Alright, the second point I'm going to make is, well, I'll be honest, the story. I think the story is hot garbage. It is so boring. It's not interesting at all. You know, some of you might disagree and think it's interesting, but I just don't think it's interesting at all. There's not really any world building. The characters are just introduced way too quickly. The only character that I really know the most is literally Alpha, and maybe Bunny, because I mean she had her own side story, but literally there just wasn't too much world building. I feel like you didn't really get to know who the characters were. We never really got to understand what their motives were, and I mean, okay, obviously their motives is to protect Albion, but it just felt like, you know, it was like, oh, you do this mission, now you go to this next mission. Oh, okay, now we're gonna send you here. You know, it felt like it was just too quick paced, and the story ended really quickly where, you know, you finally finish whatever you needed to do at, you know, Fortress, which is the last place you go to. And I won't spoil this, I won't talk about the story here, but it just felt like it could have been written better. And if they'd written it better, the story would have been much, like, it would have been more, no, I want to say digestible. It was more, I guess, better hook. It would hook you in more instead of being something you just get with the escape key, because I don't know, it just felt too quick, and I was like, okay, finally, yay, we finished we saved the world, yay, or we saved Albion, yay, you know. Like, the only part I think was interesting, which, okay, I will actually say a spoiler. The only part that I thought was like kind of intrigued me was sadly, the Yinjin part where his whole squad got, turned into a chimera, and, he had to witness that. I'm like, oh my, that hit differently. That really hit differently. But other than that, I felt like the execution of the story was not done well. I think they had a vision, but the vision was not executed by very good story writers. Sorry, but that's what I think, okay? That's at least my opinion. Now, other than the story, I feel like it's not the make or break, though. The third point I'm going to make is, I think, kind of what happened to a good amount of players, and, it makes sense, I mean, these type of games, you don't really, it's not really there to, like, keep you hooked there forever, but essentially what the third point is when a player maxes out, like, stuff, generally you feel accomplished and you're like, alright, I'm done with my goal, what's the next game? Now, in most games, like, let's say, for example, Elden Ring, or Black Myth Wukong, or, Persona, or any game that you finish, kind of like, you max your character, you make the strongest character, you finish the story, and you finish essentially everything you really set out to accomplish. This game has that type of, sense of accomplishment where you finished, oh, well, I finished, getting all my stuff for my character, I finished, getting all the modules I wanted on my characters, and now I'm done. So then you quit the game, and you don't really go back, because, you finished essentially your goal, or you finished the game in your head. Yeah, sure, there are other characters, but you're like, I don't really want to build them. Like, for example, like, let's say you finish building Freyna. Well, you're not really interested in building any other character. You're not really interested in building, let's say, old Valby, or you're not interested in building old Viesa or something, right? You just wanted to only build Freyna. Well, now you don't really have a goal anymore, right? So you'd probably just quit the game. And, this type of game does lead to that kind of path. And, there are people that definitely finish, like, all the game. Like, every single character is probably built or something. But, this kind of game does lead to that eventually, which I don't blame them. It's just the nature of this game. So anyways, that's kind of my third point, and I think it's kind of a big point. Not like the biggest point, but it's a pretty solid point, and I think this should be addressed, at least, because at least from my perspective, this is what I would do if I finished what I set out to accomplish. And there's a reason why I don't play, like, let's say 5 hours every day. I only play like 30 minutes maybe, just so I keep playing. And sometimes I take weeks off. Sometimes, like, I take like a week or two off, and then I just go back to grinding. So anyways, that's my third point. Now, those were kind of points like gameplay wise, or like from like a player's perspective. I think those 3 points are kind of just like, they're not huge points, or they are huge points, but they're not like points that like are unique to only this game. And I feel like if you want to really understand why this game doesn't really have like a huge community, or like a huge increase of players, is because I think there are just major things in this game that kind of holds it back, which I honestly will sadly say, I think the company that handles this game, Nexon, could be doing better. And I think it's because Nexon, the company, isn't the greatest handler for, I guess, games. At least they don't have trust in the community. Now, I have seen that people have outwardly said, I don't really trust Nexon, or they don't really like Nexon, and they hate Nexon, because they have this reputation, at least to them, that they are basically money hungry, which is a bad thing, because that means they will try everything they can to get your money without putting that much effort, in terms of like they don't want to put too much money into spending to make a game better, and they just want to kind of just put microtransactions to the brim to get your money. And I mean, the mismanagement is kind of just bring this game down in a sense. And I mean, we can kind of see some of the tactics or some of the weird things they've done already. I mean, I can't believe I saw this on Reddit, but on Reddit I literally saw I'll post the screenshot of it, but essentially it showed, and I actually remembered it myself, but the thing is I already bought the skin, so I couldn't actually like access how much it actually cost. But apparently there was a discount for this skin, for a Freyna skin, and the Freyna skin, or the ultimate Freyna cost 3,000 whatever the currency is, I completely forgot what it was called, but it costs 3,000 of that in-game currency that you have to buy. And then that was the before. Then there's the after. The after showed that it was also 3,000, but here's the thing: it said it was discounted. So the thing is with the game is that they made the skin, the ultimate Freyna, an ultimate skin, and the +1 Descendant, which is the same exact pack as you can see from the image, cost 3,300 of whatever the currency is. I completely forgot what it was called. Sorry, but they made it cost 3,300, and they said, okay, 10% off. And then I'm like, or whatever percent off. I don't think it's 10%. I think that's like less than that. But I'm just like, oh my god, I can't believe they actually just did this. Yeah, that was insane when I saw that. I honestly, that really turned off some people. That made people, I wouldn't say mad, but disappointed. Because I mean, they kind of expected it because it's Nexon, but they were just disappointed. And I also was disappointed, and I was like, wow. Yeah, big disappointment in my opinion, but what there's nothing you can really do. I mean, yeah. And I think it's just something that, like, it's sadly a thing, but it's like, yeah. I'm gonna move away from this topic. It's kind of rough, but yeah, I think Nexon, I'm hoping that Nexon does take this into the right direction. I mean, they did do really good updates for the game as a whole. I think the new Void was definitely a good addition to the whole game, but if they have stuff like this, it just shows that they don't really care too much about the player base, and they just want to pretend, or they want to show that, oh, we can totally do a discount, but they don't actually show a discount. It's like, really? Just, you might as well not do anything, because the people who are going to buy the skin are going to buy it, and the people who aren't going to buy it are probably not going to buy it. And this isn't to cut them slack or anything. It's just to say, you have loyal customers, so treat them kindly. Don't treat them like this. This is treating them terribly. So anyways, yeah, so I think that's kind of wraps up this whole why I don't think, or I think the First Descendant is just gonna bleed over time. Because I mean, you've seen, if I haven't posted the chart, I'll post the chart right here. But this is essentially what the general trend is, and it's just going down. And I don't know if it's gonna recover. Like, I feel like it's just gonna keep declining. Like, when a new season gets released, there's a big influx in players, but that influx of players is still less than the amount of players that joined in, let's say, the start of season 1. And definitely a big difference between season 0. I feel like that just number is going to keep on decreasing if they don't change their ways. And especially if they don't change how at least the game is perceived. So yeah, I guess I think, let's see. I guess maybe I'll wrap it up. I don't know. I do want to talk about, I guess the things that they did do in the right direction. I mean, I did mention some of it, which is, for example, the void thing. I think it was definitely a great addition. It definitely gave a new, fresh map perspective and different things to really go look for and find, and it just felt like we can actually explore something new for once, instead of it looking like, I don't know, green grass with rocks. I definitely thought the invasion was definitely a great idea, because it gave an actual sense of purpose to dungeons other than getting more amorphous material. You can actually farm XP, gold, and actually, in fact, you can farm the advanced modules, I think they're called, which is like you can change the substats on your weapons. That was definitely a great addition. What else is there? Let's see. Oh, the ETA shop. That was a great addition. I think that actually gives access to players to actually buy some pay-to-win items. For example, First Descendant slots. To actually unlock more, you need to spend the actual paid currency, but you can now actually get some through that shop if you farm enough. And you can also buy paints, which, oh yeah, by the way, the paints are such a scam in my opinion, but that's a different thing. And this is not to shame anybody on the pay to win stuff. And if you got the money, you can spend it however you want. Go ahead, I don't care. But yeah, and I think let's see. I think another good thing they added. There was another one. I completely forgot what it was. Shoot. What was it? Oh, the advancement mods. So I remember before it was pretty annoying to like change your, like, for example, when you had your mods, you have to make sure you change it to, like, in your, for example, your Descendant, if you added multiple of those simple changes of the RK or whatever, or I don't think it's called RK, it's like basically the things on your mods to make them cost like less skill slot space. They actually made it so where you don't actually have to change it anymore or something, which honestly, quality of life. But there are definitely things that they could definitely add to help the player have a more chill life or easier time. But yeah, I mean, I don't have all the stuff on the top of my head, but there are definitely things that they are doing in the right direction, but there are things that they are doing that are making them take steps back. For example, the thing I literally just talked about, which was the blatant lie for the discount. But it is what it is. You can't really, there's not really much you can do. And yeah, so I guess that's kind of about it. I think overall the game is, I hope the game actually does get better and that the player base actually does kind of return. But there's only so much that can happen, because I feel like the game kind of lost a lot of its trust and a lot of its like main player base. I mean, I think the player count dropped around from like 250 to like whatever the amount is right now, which is like 90% of the player base disappeared essentially in like 6 months. And that is insanely fast. Like, you kind of would expect at least like maybe 50,000, like 80% drop, but not like a 90% drop. That is a little too much. So anyways, I think that's about it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and if I made any points that didn't really make any sense, or you would want more clarity, or maybe you want to critique my stuff, go ahead. I really don't mind. I actually would love to hear your guys' thoughts, opinions, and well, if you got anything to air out, go ahead. I don't mind. I in fact would love it. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time on, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Goodbye, everybody.